students. Udayan, Subhash, Rupika, Praising, Praveen, Amit. So, good evening to all of you students. Students, hopefully all of you are doing well, doing good. Students, this is, thank you. So, students, this is a quick particular amendment lecture. There are some 3 extra amendments which the students will have to do for their November 21 attempt, which has just been released by the ICI. So we are going to touch upon those 3, the recent update by the ICI students, the recent update by the ICI. So that recent update by the ICI is what we are going to touch upon now. Hardly it will take me half an hour, but they are actually very important for the examination. One is very important for the descriptive part, and another 2 amendments are important for MCQ. One is for descriptive part, and another 2 students is for the MCQ part. Fine, students? I'll touch upon that. We'll start with that, students. But just for one quick announcement, students, a taxathon batch. A taxathon batch for CA Final Group 2, November 21. This is a fast track batch. That is going to start from 4th of August, wherein DT, IDT, there are 2 subjects, and international taxation. The third one is international taxation. DT, IDT, and the third one is the international taxation. So these are the 3 subject students which would be covered. Those who don't have the elective of international taxation, they can do at least DT and IDT. In that 3 months period, this is the batch 100% in English. 3 months period is there. In this 3 months period, students, there will be a test series also that will be there in between. The test series would be there. 4 test series are there in between in this particular test, in this particular batch. Already a Hindi batch, which is known as Abhyas batch, fast track batch. Abhyas batch is already going on. This is a batch separately for an English batch, a separate 100% English batch, which we are doing it, a fast track for November 21. This also would be followed up on 11th August, students. On 11th August, we are going to start with the regular batch for May 22 as well for 100% English. Hindi batch is already going on presently, students. Mega sir, we started with special class for November 21. We are about to start from this one. Okay, now I'll announce this one also. Many students were asking about the special class that was supposed to start at 10:30. So I'll just tell you about that just quickly, friends. Students, tonight at 9:30 p.m. primary, tonight at 9:30 p.m. I will be doing a plan for all of you, ABC plan. An ABC plan for the next 3 months for DT. Next 3 months, the DT coverage. The ABC plan for the next 3 months for the direct tax coverage. Tonight at 9:30, again a 45-minute session, but it will be a very important session as to how we are going to cover up this particular part. Apart from that, students, there are some case law session I'm planning up on Saturday night, students, at 8 p.m. Very important case law, students, has been introduced. And I can tell you, students, at least 2 case law is going to be there in November attempt. 2 case law has to be there in the November attempt, students. So that case law class, we are going to do it on Saturday, 8 p.m. Own course, new course, everyone. So for DT, don't have a bifurcation, but it is for everyone. Students, 8 p.m. on Saturday, we'll have the case law session. 2 case law short is going to come in the examination. So that is what we are going to touch upon on Saturday, the link of which I'll be providing for. Now, many students are asking about, sir, that 10:30 batch that you were talking about, special class. Yes, students, I'm going to start that 10:30 batch from 9th of August. Students, from 9th of August, I'm starting. That batch, which is at 10:30 p.m., I'm starting from 9th of August. 9th August to 9th September, 1 month, daily 10:30 to 11:15 p.m. at night, 45 minutes daily. We'll be doing it. And what is that we are going to cover? I'll tell you one thing. What is that we are going to cover? We are going to cover the entire compiler. My entire compiler, students, I'm going to share with all of you. And we're going to do each and every question of the compiler. You also said how that is possible, but to cover up the entire 500 questions from the compiler, students, you also know every question has got some crux. Do you all agree? Every question has got some crux. That is the crux that we are going to pick it up. That crux, students, we are going to pick it up, and that is what we are going to do it from 9th August to 9th September. 1 month, direct tax is over, students, with full practice. So that would be a wonderful session, students. So that I'm planning, I will be giving you, all the students who will be taking up that special class, students, I'll giving you my PDF file of compiler. My PDF file of compiler will be shared with all of you, students. Yes, Mega, the PDF file of my compiler I'm going to share with all of you so that every one of us are in the same page. Students, you be there for that 1 month, because as you all know that 1 month would be so critical. You'll be covering up direct tax entirely through practice. So you just invest 1 hour, I told you already, and you will be covering up your DT. Many students are saying, sir, but we had July attempt. But so what? If you pass, nothing like that. God forbid if you don't clear, at least one thing would be there. Your direct tax is more or less through. That thing is really would be very important for all of you students. Are you getting this one, students? So I'm going to start from 9th of August, 10:30 p.m. I will make the PDF. I'll share with the PDF also. And I will make one Telegram channel for the discussion. That particular batch will be a Telegram channel for the discussion with all the students. So there will be a discussion group which you will create it so that students, everyone would be there in this regard. Fine, friends. So let's start then in this context. The amendment part, which has been there here in students, the amendment side. This amendment, students, PDF, all of you will take it from the ICA website. ICA has already put across. No, that Subhash is asking whether that lecture that you're talking about 10:30 p.m. is it paid? No, this is a special class. Special class is not paid session. 10:30 to 11:30 p.m. special class, which we are going to have it daily. Primarily, it's not a paid lecture. It's a special class. Okay. Now, students, all of you will pay attention. This PDF file, first of all, students, it is already there in your ICA website. It is already there in your ICA website. And in the ICA website, students, ensure that you pick it up this particular PDF file. All of you are going to pick it up this particular PDF file, students. This PDF file, students, has got the extra amendment that November 21 attempt students have to do it. Extra amendment that the November 21 students have to do it. Most important, this amendment. The first amendment is in the head salary. The first amendment is under the head salary. This is, students, most likely a practical question can be targeted. Most likely, students, a practical question will be targeted under this chapter salary. Students, salary, I came to know that many students are not comfortable with the head chapter salary, chapter 6 and clubbing. These are the topics. Chapter 6 salary, chapter 6 and clubbing. For these three also, now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to start straight away a special class on these three topics straight away. Tomorrow it will be there. One special class will be there tomorrow. On salary, we'll be doing it. We'll be doing it salary tomorrow. And day after tomorrow, students will be doing the clubbing chapter. The clubbing chapter. So I'm going to plan this particular thing, salary, chapter 6 and clubbing also, so that this topic is very important for this particular attempt. Let's start now. Students, what the background of this amendment is very critical. This particular amendment which is introduced, students, please pay attention. In Finance Act, Udyan, I'll share the time. In Finance Act 2020, students, in Finance Act 2020, all of you now pay attention. This is an important one. This is the only important one, students. Just stick with this. Next two will get completed in 5 minutes. This is the only thing which you just need to learn. Next two amendments will get completed in 5 minutes. Let's focus on this amendment now. Students, in Finance Act 2020, amendment was being made that employer contribution to the superannuation fund or the recognized provident fund or to the NPS, if the employer contribution exceed rupees 7.5 lakhs per annum, if the employer contribution, I'm talking about whose contribution? Employer contribution. If the employer contribution exceed the threshold amount of 7.5 lakhs, I'll share, Shubhankar, I'll share. If it exceed the threshold of 7.5 lakhs, then whatever is the excess amount, that excess amount will be charged as perquisite under section 1727. Under section 1727. In the hands of whom? In the hands of the employee. Under which section, students? 1727. It will be charged under the head under the head salary in the hands of the employee. Any contribution of the employer in excess of 7.5 lakhs. In what they are contributing? In the NPS, in the recognized superannuation fund, and the last but not the least, students, is what is this particular case of the NPS recognized superannuation fund. Superannuation fund. Yes, Srinivas, I'm taking. Just let me complete this amendment. I'll share with all of you. So, students, in this context, this is a case. What about the employee contribution? What about the employee contribution? Employee contribution, students, there is no perquisite. For the employee contribution, students, yes, Rupika, for the employee contribution, there is a chapter 6 reduction. Employee contribution के लिए students क्या directly chapter 6 reduction है. So, employer contribution in excess of 7.5 lakhs, taxable in the hands of the employee in excess of 7.5 lakhs. It is taxable in the hands of the employee. किस head में tax होगा? Under the head salary. Employee own contribution to this particular fund. For that, employee will be eligible for. Employee की eligibility क्या हो जाएगी? Employee will be eligible for chapter 6 reduction. I hope that all of you are clear with this one. So what is this particular notification that we are doing? This is about, students, the interest part. The interest part, students. Now, please pay attention over here. So here is the employer contributing either to the NPS or the superannuation fund or the recognized provident fund. Okay, so the employer is contributing in excess of 7.5 lakhs. Okay, so employer contribution is in excess of 7.5 lakhs. So whatever is the excess, students, whatever is the excess, this excess is taxable in the hands of the employee as a perquisite. Under which section, students? Taxable as a perquisite under which section? 1727. I hope that all of you are clear with this part. 1727. सब लोग clear है इस particular point को लेके? Employee, it will be taxable in the hands of the employee. Now, on this excess amount, students, be careful. On this excess amount, there would also be interest. The interest, students, be careful now. On this excess portion, the interest would also get accrued. So whatever is the interest which gets accrued, primarily, students, will be taxable in the hands of the employee under section 1727A. This was the amendment of Finance Act 2020. This was the amendment of the Finance Act 2020. ठीक है? अब students एक चीज notice करना. Everyone knew that the excess, this is not a rocket science. Everyone know how much is the excess annual contribution of the employer. सबको पता है ना excess कितना contribute किया employer ने. So everyone are aware of that. But how to calculate the interest? Because please understand, interest ये cumulative basis पे होगा or interest would be calculated on the simple interest basis. How do we calculate the interest becomes a bone of contention. So what the lawmaker did was, so they said that this interest which would be accrued and which should be taxable in the hands of the employee under the head salary under section 1727A, this particular interest, students, we will calculate. Students will calculate as per which section, students? Are you aware of it? This interest will be calculated as per the rules which will be prescribed. तो जो rules होगा ना, जो rules वो prescribe करेंगे, उसके हिसाब से interest would be calculated. So till July attempt, we never had any rules. Students, till July attempt, we never had any rules. But for the November attempt, do we have any rules now? क्या November attempt के लिए हमारे पास rule आ चुका है? And the answer is yes. This is exactly what we are doing it right now. Students, for November attempt now, we are doing this particular rule, students. And let's now see what this rule is all about. Are you clear now with the background of the amendment? ये जो excess है, now please understand, on the excess over and above 7.5 lakhs, whatever is the amount the employer has contributed, मान के चलो that the employer has contributed 9 lakhs. मान के चलो, just assume that the employer has contributed 9 lakhs. So how much is excess? 1.5 lakhs. So on this 1.5 lakhs, the interest has to be calculated. So the interest on 1.5 lakhs. But how to calculate? How to calculate, students, that was not there with us. So therefore now, through this new rule, applicable for November 21 attempt, this new rule will tell you how do you calculate this interest amount. I hope that all of you are clear with this point. If that is the case, students, shall I then teach you that rule? बस ये एक ही रूल है स्टूडेंट, बाकी और कुछ नहीं है, बाकी ऐसे चुटकियों में कंप्लीट हो जाएगा. Rest of it will get over at fraction of second. This is the only thing that you need to learn. Let's start, students. All of you, please pay attention, students. We'll get it through them. First, let's read this again. ICI, let's show some respect of this content. Shudadev, students, I'm telling you all the MTPs. Students, just tonight, 9:30 p.m. 9:30 p.m. Please attend my ABC class. 9:30 p.m. for that 45 minutes. All of you just attend that my 9:30 p.m. ABC class. 45 minutes ABC lecture. I'm going to do it for all of you. Just attend it. Everything will be clear to all of you. Everything will be sorted out. Okay, don't worry. 9:30 p.m. Now, students, all of you just pay attention over here. The amount or the aggregate amount of any contribution made in the recognized provident fund in NPS or superannuation fund or NPS or approved superannuation fund or recognized PF, to the extent it exceeds rupees 7.5 lakhs, to the extent it will exceed rupees 7.5 lakhs, will be perquisite by virtue of section 72(7). I already told you, students, any amount which is contributed in excess of rupees 7.5 lakhs, that excess employer contribution, that excess whose contribution? Employer contribution, will be considered as the salary income taxable in the hands of the employee. Consequently, section 17(2)(7)(a) provides that annual accretion, ये देख रहे हो आप लोग, annual accretion by way of what? You can name this as interest, dividend, or any amount or any other amount of similar nature during the previous year to the balance at the credit of the recognized PF or the NPS or the approved fund, to the extent, again students, to the extent it relates to the employer contribution which is included in the total income in any previous year under section 72(7). देखो language कैसे complicate कर रखा है, how complicated they've done the language. In a simple word, that the interest, the annual accretion by way of interest, dividend, or any other amount, but this accretion should be in respect of the excess portion of the employer contribution which is included or which is taxable in the hands of the employee under the salary. That accretion, that is interest, dividend on the excess amount of the employer contribution taxable in the hands of the employee, only on respect of that the chargeability will be attracted in the hands of the employee under section 17(2)(7). So therefore, students, Vatsal, just hold on. It will be, don't worry. Just hold on. So आप लोग notice करना students यहाँ पे. Just all of you notice this thing. Again, this part, students. All of you just notice this particular part. What did I told you? Excess पे ध्यान रखना. Just focus on this one, students. On the excess of the employer contribution, only on that part, students. That whatever is accretion, that is what is taxable in the hands of the employee under section 72(7)(a). That is the reason why, students, I'm telling you, they are going to complicate the things and they will just say that 8.5 lakhs is what has been contributed by the employer. So आपको क्या बोलना है? That fine. If it is 8.5 lakhs, then in that case, your answer would be like this. Step number 1, how much is taxable under section 17(2)(7), students? बताओ जल्दी से, how much is taxable under section 17(2)(7)? How much will be taxable under section 17(2)(7)? Again, and the answer is Shika. How much will be taxable under section 17(2)(7), students? And indeed, it will be up to rupees 1 lakh. No, कहाँ विनय 7.5 लाख कहाँ पहुँच गए आप लोग? How much is taxable under section 17(2)(7)? The amount in excess of 7.5 lakhs. So how much is in excess of 7.5 lakhs? It is rupees 1 lakh. Perfect. 1 lakh, students. Point number 2. What about the interest? So I'll give you two options. The interest to be taxable under section 17(2)(7)(a. Interest to be taxable under section 17(2)(7)(a in the hands of the employee shall be two options. Option number 1. पहला option ध्यान से सुनो. The option 1 would be the interest as calculated as per the rules on rupees 8.5 lakhs, being the entire employer contribution to the recognized fund or the NPS or superannuation fund, or the interest as calculated as per the rule applicable on that excess amount of 1 lakh. किस पे आप ultimately calculate होगा? Entire amount पे या फिर सिर्फ excess पे? First option or second option? 1 or 2? On the entire interest calculated as per the rule on the entire amount of 8.5 lakhs contributed by the employer, or the interest as calculated as per the rule on on the excess amount which is over and above 7.5 lakhs. It is option number 2. Option number 2, students. So just keep this point in mind, क्योंकि यहीं पर क्या हो जाएगा थोड़ा आप लोग ultimately ये examination में this is the area where the ICI definitely will try to manipulate this thing. And we all know how beautifully they can do this. तो चलते हैं, question एक आएगा, so formula है. There is a formula that they've given, and the best part is that the rule is giving you the case study. Student, the rule is giving to you the case study. yeah, Shudhadev, I'll just guide you. Let me get it done this thing first. यहाँ पे देखो, accordingly the CBDT has wide its notification prescribed the following formula to compute the annual accretion by way of interest, dividend, or any other amount by way of similar nature during the current previous year to the balance to the credit of the recognized PF or NPS or superannuation to the extent, students, यहाँ पे ध्यान रखना, to the extent it relates to the employer contribution in excess of rupees 7.5 lakhs. Employer contribution in excess of 7.5 lakhs, which will be included in the total income of any previous year. तो कैसे calculate किया रहेगा? Let's see in this regard, student. अभी this is TP is taxable perquisite. The taxable perquisite under 72 say. So this is the final answer. TP is a taxable perquisite. The final answer. How do we calculate taxable perquisite? Now the good news, students. Good news सुन लीजिए आप लोग. The good news is this, that for your examination you have to only remember this. यही आपको for November 21 attempt. For November 21 attempt, students, you have to only remember PC divided by 2 into R. You say why not the other one? PC1 plus TP1 into R. वो मैं आपको पढ़ा देता हूँ और आपको पता चलेगा. This part which is there, students. This part which is there, this is going to be made applicable from May 22 to November 22. For at least for November 21, only this part is applicable. देखते हैं क्या है ये. So what is this TP1 first of all? TP1 and PC1 पहले देखते हैं. Let's first do TP1 and PC2 and let me say it is redundant. Let me first prove it this is redundant. What it is? TP1. Students, आप थोड़ा सा ध्यान देना. TP1. So TP1, aggregate of taxable perquisite under section 1727A. बताइए students, this 1727A represents what? Interest or dividend for the previous year or the years commencing on or after 1st April 2020 other than the current previous year. Please tell me one thing. What is the current previous year for your November attempt? Previous year 2021. यही है ना? So the previous year 2021 is the current previous year. Now, if that is the current previous year, that is 2021, my next question to all of you therefore is, my next question, students, therefore to all of you is this. अगर previous year 2021 is the current previous year, what about the situation of the last years and all? कोई last year है आपके पास अभी तक? Wherein there is a taxable perquisite which would have generated in section 1727A. अभी तक अगर current previous year अगर हमारा first year, ये current previous year हुआ आपके लिए, जब आप calculate करेंगे in the examination, this becomes your current previous year 2021. So do we have any last particular previous year? And the answer is no. So this happened to be a first year itself, and therefore this TP1 students is not applicable for previous year 2021 because this is the current previous year. लेकिन अगर आप देखोगे for the next year, next previous year, for May 22 attempt, who will have the previous year 21-22? For all those students who will have their attempt in 21-22, what about for them? They will have, students, please tell me, उनके लिए क्या होगा ये? For all of them, will they have TP1? And the answer is yes, students. Perfect. The answer is yes, because they will have at least the current previous year would be this. For those students who will be appearing in May 22, for them the current previous year would be 21-22. Isn't it? And what about the earlier previous year that they will have? At least they will have one old year. And what is it, old year? In which the taxable perquisite under 1727A will be taken into account. For them, that old year would be 2021. Perfect. 2021. Exactly. तो आप समझ रहे हो ना ये चीज में? Why TP1 for your November attempt, for which the previous year is 2021, because this is the current previous year, because this is your current previous year, therefore this is not going to be there in your examination. TP1. What about PC1? Students, what about PC1? क्या PC1 भी रह पाएगा? मैंने बताया ना, TP neither TP1 nor PC1. See PC1. Read yourself. You will come to know. PC1 students. नहीं होगा रुपये का, वो टैक्सेबल नहीं होगा ना. आप वही सोचो ना कि ये 2021 से प्रोविजन स्टार्ट हुआ है. 1727A भी जो प्रोविजन है वो 2021 से स्टार्ट हुआ है. So if that is the case, so definitely you will not have any taxable perquisite under 1727A for a year before previous year 2021, because this provision came into effect from previous year 2021, isn't it? That's the reason. The PC1 आप लोग ने देखा students? All of you have read PC1 students. So what PC1 says? Amount or aggregate of the amount of the employer contribution in excess of 7.5 lakhs to the specified fund or scheme for the previous year commencing on or after 1st April 2021 other than the current previous year. तो current previous year को आप छोड़ दो, set aside your current previous year, and then fortunately for you the current previous year is 2021. So if I have to set aside 2021, therefore my PC1 also becomes not applicable. तो फिर बच क्या गया? If TP1 and PC1 is out from the race for your November attempt, if PC1 and TP1 is out from your race, then in that case, students, but only one thing, students, please be very careful. ये तो सबको पता चल चुका nil है. Student, this is nil. But the question is that how do we need to present? Do we need to show this in our equation? Do we need to show in our equation in presenting in our answer, students? क्या लगता है आपको? Marks होगा इसका? In presenting your answer, are we supposed to write TP is equal to PC divided by 2 into R plus PC1 plus TP1 bracket complete into R? Do we need to write this sentence? So the answer is yes, because this equation is given by the CBDT. अलग बात है कि आपने वो लिख के बोल देना है कि this will be nil because this pertains to the data other than for a current year beginning from previous year 2021. और आप फिर ये बोल दोगे the very fact that previous year 2021 itself is a current year. The previous year 2021 itself is a current year. Therefore, the answer will be nil. ये लिखना पड़ेगा students आपको. You will have to write this point, students. Are you getting this point, students? If you don't write this, I'm telling you, students, these people, I can tell you, knowing the fact our students are there in now your examiner and their head examiners and all. So students, they are themselves are telling that, sir, if they don't write this, we don't give you the marks. So please, this is 0. Yes, this is 0. But do we have to write the sentence? And the answer is yes. I hope that this point is well clear. क्योंकि इतना amendment है, that is a reason. Because it is an amendment, I'm making so much of emphasis how you need to present your answer. Let's look upon to PC divided by 2 into R. Now this is the only relevant point. Let's see what is this PC divided by 2 into R. And the real game is on R. PC तो बहुत easy है, students. PC is very easy. But divide by R, the R is the game, students. What is PC? Amount or the aggregate of the amount of the employer contribution in excess of rupees 7.5 lakhs to the specified fund or the scheme during the previous year 2021. तो ये क्या हुआ students? Employer की contribution. Please students, never take this employer contribution here. In PC, only the employer contribution. So can I say in a simple word, just whatever I have taught you, it is just the excess. PC is nothing but the excess. Please define excess, and you should try to close your eyes and try to recollect what is excess. Excess is the employer contribution to those 3 funds in excess of rupees 7.5 lakhs. So that excess portion is your PC. That excess portion is your PC. Did you all got this one? That excess portion is your PC. किसकी contribution की बात हो रही है students? Employer contribution की बात हो रही है. Whose contribution are we talking about it? Employer contribution. I hope that all of you are clear with this one. If that is the case, now let's see the denominator. The denominator is R, and R is I divided by FG. Who write all these things? I don't know. Somebody in ministry have written this thing. I divided by the function of the average. Average to समझ में आता है, but this the full average, whatever it is. So therefore, in this particular context, I divide by FAG. So what is this I? I is the amount or the aggregate of the amount of the income accrued during the current previous year in the specified account or the scheme. So वही जो the interest portion, the interest which has been accrued in that particular NPS or the superannuation fund or the recognized PF. So that interest portion which got accrued divided by, now R is again, so please understand, PC divided by R is what we have to do, and R itself is what? I divided by FAAVG. Yes, Parthiban. So if you see over here very carefully, students, what is FAG? Amount or aggregate of the amount of balance to the credit of the specified fund. So please see what is this one. This is the last point. Amount or aggregate of amount of the balance in the credit of the three funds on the first day of the previous year, plus what, students? Plus amount or aggregate of the amount of the balance of the credit of the specified fund as on the last day. So first date plus last date divided by what, students? Divided by 2. So you have to take the average. So this is the average. So therefore here the denominator is the average of the amount which is standing as on the first day of the fund and the balance which is there as on the last day of the fund. Please understand. Now I should ask you this. Please pay attention, students. थोड़ा सा careful है ना जो मैं पूछने जा रहा हूँ. Let me see how many of you can get the answer right. Students, so far as PC is concerned, just now we discussed and we concluded. ये PC के बारे में बात किया ना अपन ने. We have already concluded. This is about the excess of the employer contribution over and above. Excess of what? Of the employer contribution over and above rupees 1 lakh. Excess of the employer contribution over and above rupees 1 lakh. Sorry, over and above rupees 7.5 lakhs. That is what we have said. So we will take that as our PC. What about the R? In the R calculation, which requires two variables. Which are those two variables? I and FAVG. In this two variables, please pay attention. In this two variables, are we supposed to take those excess portion or the entire portion? Excess or the entire portion? Excess or the entire portion? Quickly, students, there is no time. Excess or the entire, students? Last 5 seconds is only left for all of you. Excess or the entire? And indeed, students, excellent, very good. Good show, students, good show. Indeed, it is to be taken as the entire amount. Perfect. Very good. Indeed, it has to be taken as what, students? The entire amount. आप लोग ने एकदम सही कहा है. Entire amount is what has to be taken in the calculation of R. So, कैसे? अब तो आपको याद रखना ना. You all know what has to be remembered for a number attempt. Only the PC divided by R. And therefore, PC, how you'll remember? It is the excess amount over and above 7.5 lakhs. Just remember, excess is your PC. But when it comes to the calculation of R, you will take the entire amount. You will not have any bias about that this R is restricted only to the employer contribution or this R is restricted only on the excess amount. ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है. There is no such stipulation given so far as the two variables are concerned. The two variables, you see for yourself. Friend, आप खुद देखो, in that particular R calculation, they have not mentioned anywhere even that it is restricted to the employer contribution. So if you see the average, when you take the opening balance as on the first day and when you take the closing balance as on the last day, don't you think that on the opening balance and on the closing balance, even the employee contribution would be there? But employee bhi to contribute karta na ye sare funds mein. Even the employee do contribute in this particular funds. So whether on the opening and on the closing balance, whether the employee contribution is also to be taken into account, and the answer is yes. अब देख लो एक बार वापस से देखो. In FAVG, students, all of you just read it one more time and see for yourself whether they have even mentioned anything about that it should be restricted only to the employer contribution. Whether they have mentioned such thing. And the answer is no, students. Yes, Chico. Fine, students. Shall we then directly go to the question now? एक क्वेश्चन बस करते हैं, बहुत आसान क्वेश्चन हो जाएगा and we are through, students. Let's do one question. Let's start. Suppose the question: X Private Limited contributed rupees 8.5 lakhs during the previous year 2021 towards the recognized PF. So employer is X Private Limited. How much they have contributed? They have contributed 8.5 lakhs during the previous year 2021 towards the recognized PF to the account of Mr. A. Mr. A is the employee. Mr. A had also made an equivalent contribution. उन्होंने equivalent contribution किया था. So how much is the contribution by the employee? 8.5 lakhs. So same contribution of the employer, same contribution is of the employee, 8.5 lakhs each. And thereafter, can you then tell me straight away how much goes in 1727? We all know the excess. The excess, that is known as the excess. And we can easily say it is 1 lakh. So 1727 में तो ये tax होगा. But now we have to calculate what? Now we have to calculate what, students? We have to calculate 1727A. Our job is to now calculate 1727A. Nobody should have doubt that there is two taxability. The crux would be there are two taxability in the previous year 2021 in the hands of Mr. A. One taxability would be under 1727, which is rupees 1 lakh, and another taxability would be under section 1727A, for which we need to do the calculation. करते calculation साथ में करेंगे, and we will come to know, and we will try to close this one out. So here what they have mentioned, students. Okay, Mr. A also has made an equivalent contribution. Now, balance in his recognized provident fund account as on 1st of April 2020 is how much, students? 32 lakhs. So this is how much, students? The balance is on the first day of the previous year. How much is that? 32 lakhs. Interest accrued in his recognized provident fund. ये accrue जो हुआ है उनके recognized provident fund में during the previous year 2021 is how much? 3,44,250. Please tell me. ऐसा कहीं बोला गया है कि this interest is restricted only in respect of. This interest is restricted only and only in respect of the employer contribution, and that too on the excess amount. ऐसा कुछ तो है नहीं है. This is the entire interest. So you, for applying the formula, you will take into account the entire interest. So therefore, you take into account the entire interest. So now then, the taxable perquisite under section 1727A for previous year 2020 would be computed in the following manner. तो देखते हैं किस तरीके से इसको calculate किया गया. Now this is directly the answer, but how they have derived the answer, students? Derive कैसे किया आपने answer? Let's see how they have derived the answer over here. Students, as we have concluded TP1 and PC1 for your November 20 attempt, TP1 and PC1 would be nil because your current year itself is 2021. Isn't it? Bilkul Pratik. So now in that case, this is nil. So our all focus is on this PC and on this R. PC already we knew that it is the excess. So this PC is excess 1 lakh. Okay. Divided by the I. The I was the interest. Interest, and that is the entire amount. That is the entire amount 344,250. ठीक है? 344,250 divided by the average. So what is that average of the entire balance? Opening balance कितना था यहाँ पे? 34 lakhs. Sorry, 32 lakhs was the opening balance. Fine, opening balance was 32 lakhs. Now what is the closing balance? Closing balance, may please pay attention. Can we say in the closing balance the opening balance would be there? Can we say in the closing balance opening balance would be there? Yes. Can we say in the closing balance this interest that is accrued, that will also be there? Batao. In the closing balance of that superannuation fund, whether that interest which has been accrued, will that also form part of that particular closing balance of the fund? Will also form part of the closing balance of the fund? Why not? Okay. Now in the closing balance, students, whether the employer contribution, whether that employer contribution of 8.5 lakhs, will that be there? Whether the employer contribution of 8.5 lakhs, will that be there? Yes. In that closing balance, whether the employee contribution of 8.5 lakhs would be there? Again, the answer is yes. Again, the answer is yes. And therefore, students, what you need to do? आपको अब क्या करना है? You have to take opening balance and the closing balance divide by 2. उसका average लेना पड़ेगा ना? Opening balance and closing balance divide by 2. Opening balance and the closing balance you have to take divide by 2. So how much is your opening balance and the closing balance? So 32 lakhs. If you have the calci students, please do it. 32 lakhs plus all this amount divide by 2. Now this 2 has to be divided at the last link, means it would be 32 lakhs plus 32 lakhs plus 3,44,250 plus 8,50,000 plus 8,50,000 divided by 2. It will be that entire amount. And therefore, students, or this, what they've calculated, shall I say 32 lakhs, What is the amount, total amount of this entire amount? The total is this. This is 52 lakhs 44,000. 52 lakh 44,250. The total of all this 32 lakhs plus 3 this thing. Now you have to do 32 lakhs. Students, please see over here. 32 lakhs plus 52 lakhs 44,250 divide by 2. Divide by 2. So therefore, your F average becomes what? 42 lakhs 22,125. 42 lakhs 22,125. That becomes your F average. So therefore, if I have to get to the final amount, I divided by F average. I divide by F average is how much? 644. 644, 42 divided by 22. 3,44,250 divided by 42 lakhs 22,125. That is your I divided by FAG. ठीक है, वो कर लो आप. और फिर आपका मिल गया I divided by FAG, which is 0.0813. So now 0.0813 is your I divided by FAG. So 0.08153. Now accordingly, students, in that context, you will get your final answer. What is your final answer? The taxable amount of perquisite under 1727A. The taxable amount of perquisite under 1727A is how much, students? Is how much then? The amount is 4,000 something. 4,000 something. Can you see the difference? 4,077. 4,077. So this is how you will get your final answer. I hope that all of you are clear with this one. सब लोग clear है इसको लेके? No confusion whatsoever in this particular context, students. So this is your final answer. So again, I'm repeating the final calculation which we did. The final calculation, students, that we did was that 1 lakh divided by 0.0813, 1853, 0.08153. So that is what you need to pick it up, and finally you will get what? The taxable amount of perquisite. The taxable amount of perquisite, which will be how much, students? Which should be rupees 4,000 something. 4,037. All clear with this one, students? इसका मैं आपको लॉजिक बताऊं. फॉर्मूला का लॉजिक क्या है? फॉर्मूला का लॉजिक ये है that in this context 1 lakh is a taxable portion. Now this is on what? On the employer contribution. Okay, on the employer contribution it is 1 lakh. That is your PC. ठीक है. Now how much this will relate to? अगर मैं इसको logically आपको समझाऊं, it is like a this thing. So how much this will relate to what, students? Relate to this one, the interest. How much this is for the principal excess. So how much is the proportion? You apply the proportion on this one. The proportion of what? Interest, the total interest of divided by what? Of the total interest divided by total fund amount. Logically सोच लो. Interest, total interest on the total fund amount. तो ये आपको क्या मिल जाएगा, students? ये आपको दे देगा percentage, the interest percentage. So it will give you the rate. Effectively, what it is giving you is nothing but the rate. The total interest divided by the total interest on what? On the aggregate amount of the fund. यही हुआ ना? On the aggregate amount of the fund. तो आपको क्या दे देगा? The rate of interest. Now this rate of interest is to be applied on what? On this 1 lakh. On this 1 lakh. This is how the logic comes. But you don't apply the logic in the examination since they have given you the formula. Students, since they have given you the formula, you have to respect the formula. आपको formula को respect करना पड़ेगा. But I have told you the logic that the excess on that 1 lakh, क्योंकि आपको सिर्फ वो जो interest logic क्या था, that how much is the interest on that excess amount, how much is the interest on that excess amount, that is what will become the taxable amount of the perquisite under section 1727A. That is what will become the taxable amount of perquisite under section 1727A. तो हमको वो calculate करना था. We were supposed to calculate that. And how do we go about this? We have to apply this particular thing. तो कैसे calculate करोगे? This is how you have to calculate it. Formula में PC divided by 2. Just a second. Formula. Just let's come back to formula. Sorry. Yeah, PC divided by 2. That we have forgotten, students. PC is PC divided by 2. Don't forget. This is 50,000. So PC divided by 2. ये आपने average ले लिया of this one also. So you have done throughout the year, you have taken the average 50,000 divided by 2 into divided by R. Students, ensure that this is so important that R has got also the average. R is what? R is I divided by, what is R? I divided by FAG. I is the whole interest. And what is FAG? The opening balance and the closing balance divided by 2. So वहां पर भी divide by 2 है. So just keep in mind, you can easily go wrong. It can be a silly mistake that can happen over here. Did you all go? Shall we proceed further, students? ये clear है सब लोगों को? Any doubts or any query that you have to ask? Or else I will proceed now further. चलो आगे बढ़ते students. Mark this to be one of the very important for November attempt. बाकी students एक again very important amendment students has come over here. Very important amendment students. This is about the tax audit report. Now students, I think all of you are aware that all of you are aware students on this part. Are you aware of this one students? The due date primarily of ROI and the report is not different. All the report filing due date is 1 month prior to the date of filing of the ROI, 1 month prior to the due date of the ROI. All of you will agree? So if the ROI due date students happens to be 31st of October 21 for say previous year 2021. For previous year 2021, the ROI due date is this. Then this due date will be restricted to 30th September 2021. All the reports has to be filed for previous year 2021 by 30th September 2021. Isn't it? Above socho students, what would have happened? There are provisions like 43B. There are provisions like 40AI or 40AIA. What are these provisions doing about it? जानते हो आप payment कर सकते हो. You can make the payment up to the due date of filing of the ROI. Students, you can file the amount, you can pay the amount up to the due date of filing of the ROI. Even the TDS, we have got this point wherein the TDS disallowance may not be attracted if supposing you deduct TDS. You have deducted a TDS, but you are depositing the TDS. When you are depositing the TDS on or before the due date of filing of the ROI. ROI, not the report date. So therefore, students, just think about it. What would have happened? आप एक बार सोचो क्या हुआ होगा. So this is what would have happened. A simple particular example, I can just take it to you. So previous year 2021. Okay, report date is 30th September. And ROI date is 31st of October. Now students, here, like interest on loan from bank. Interest on loan from bank. Now, is it covered? Students, is it covered under section 43? क्या इसको cover किया गया 43B में? Yes. Now, they have not paid. Not paid up till here. So, as on 30th September 2021, it has not been paid. So, students, if as on 30th September 2021, if it has not been paid, तो जल्दी बता दो अगर उसको आपने payment नहीं किया है. If you have not yet paid this particular amount, students, are you getting this one now? In that situation, students, what is the situation that will happen over here? आपको ultimately ये क्या हो जाएगा? Audit report will be filed with qualification. Audit report will be filed with qualification of non-payment. ये होगा ना? Non-payment की qualification कर दोगे आप in the audit report. You will make a qualification in the audit report, but then the payment is made somewhere over here, in between over here. Payment made. अब बताओ क्या? If the payment is done, whether disallowance will it be attracted? Whether disallowance will it be attracted? And the answer is no. But then the audit report is incorrect now. The audit report is incorrect. So whether we need to revise the audit report now? And the answer is yes. So because of this event, students, this audit report, because of this event, primarily the audit report primarily can be revised, or you revise kar sakte ho. Till what time you can revise it? Till the end of the AY. So till the end of the AY, that is 31st, till the end of the AY. Audit report can be revised. Audit report can be revised. Are you clear with this one, students, now? Through with this? So with this one, students, now we are through with this particular proposition completely. Fine. This is amendment. This is the amendment, students. I hope that all of you are clear with this part. No confusion. Now, don't you think that this is such an important amendment? This was required because obviously this gap is there. Because these 43B and 40A provisions, they are not linked with the audit report. They are linked with the due date of filing of the ROI. They are linked with what? The due date of filing of the ROI. So they are not linked with the audit report. So this was necessary. This was necessary, students. So I hope that all of you are clear with this part now. Can we proceed there in that case, students? To our last amendment. Simple amendment. Now they are all simple amendment, students. बहुत नॉमिनल अमेंडमेंट है, छोटे अमेंडमेंट से कर लेते हैं, एमसीक्यू के लिए इंपॉर्टेंट है. फर्स्ट स्टूडेंट्स इज अबाउट द स्टेटमेंट AIR. दिस इज एक्चुअली एन इंपॉर्टेंट वन. This is actually an important one, students. Shall we start with this one, students? Yeah, I'll zoom it. Students, ये 285BA, every one of you are aware. Every one of you are aware of 285BA. Read with rule 114E, statement of financial transaction. Statement of financial transaction. सबको पता है ये चीज? तो अब आप मुझे बताइए about this statement of financial transaction, students. Please understand, up till now, you only had the transactions. Students, you only had what? The transaction like borrowing, share transactions, withdrawal, credit card. They were only focused on the transactional details. अब तक तो यही था ना, सिर्फ transaction पर ही था, like deposit, withdrawal, borrowing, credit card, payments, security transactions. So those were only there of this much of the amount. But now the amendment in rule 114E, the amendment in rule 114E is accommodating the first time. क्या accommodate आप कर रहे हो? What is that you are accommodating, students? You are now accommodating under this category even what? Even the income. देखो income पे आ गए आप लोग. So they are now accommodating the income. Which are those income? Capital gains. The next one is dividend. The next one is dividend. And the third one is interest income. देख लो आप लोग. These are the three income students which are being there. Capital gains, dividend income, and the interest income. These are the three income students which are being there. Did you all got this one? All of you? So capital gains. Now, obviously capital gains. Now, in this case, on the transfer of listed securities or mutual fund, who will report? कौन report करेगा इसको? Obviously, listed would be there. So, stock exchange, there would be the one where the listing would have been done. Or even the share registry transfer agent. So, they are the stock exchange will now be under the obligation to specify this transaction of this particular thing that has happened. So, unko AIR file करना पड़ेगा. Stock exchange are the one students are the one who are supposed to file the AIR. So, AIR would be filed at their level, students. So AR would be filed at their level. So this is the point which has been given to us. Now the next one, this is very important. Dividend income. ये है ना, dividend taxation. We all know how critical they are. Now the company, they don't have to pay the DDT. Students, the company, they don't have to pay the DDT, but the company, are they under the obligation? Students, whether the company, are they under the obligation to report this transaction? Are the company under the obligation to report this transaction? And the answer is yes. So the company is under the obligation to report the transaction. Did you all got this one? So ये ध्यान रखना, dividend is taxable in the hands of the shareholder. However, the company which is paying the dividend amount, will they be required, students? Will they be required to report this transaction? And the answer is yes. Question arises over here, students, is whether the dividend will include deemed dividend also. ये चीज ultimately बहुत ही क्वेश्चन आता है, जो कि फ्रैंकली स्पीकिंग अगर if we take a very technical interpretation, then this, yes, dividend includes deemed dividend. As a definition hai. Dividend includes the deemed dividend under 222. Because the dividend definition itself is in the inclusive manner. Dividend includes. So therefore, like a company, and the company students, did they mention a listed company? Did they mention listed company? No. So here, if supposedly a private company or a closely held company is giving a dividend, a private company or a closely held company, if they are giving the dividend to whom? किसको dividend दे रहे हो आप? If they are giving the dividend to the shareholders. हटाओ shareholder छोड़ दो, मैं आपको दूसरा दे रहा हूँ. If the private company or the closely held company students are giving loans and advances to the substantial shareholder, that is the one who is having 10% or more of the voting power. So whether the AIR obligation will come and in the shoulders of that company, क्या AIR का burden उस company पे आ जाएगा? The answer is yes. Question examination में ध्यान से सुनना. What I'm trying to tell you students is that in the examination question, please be very careful. They will ask you what are the procedural compliance to be made in this regard. It came in this attempt, in the July attempt. It came in the new course. I'm not aware of the old course, any question, but the new course, they have specifically targeted what are the procedural compliance that needs to be done in this regard. So this becomes one of the key part of your paper now. So what they will say to you, discuss the tax implication. But agar ye bhi पूछेंगे students, you tell me one thing. If the question about the deemed dividend of 222E comes in the exam, 222E का अगर question आता है examination, if the question is of 222E and they ask you discuss the tax implication, so are you supposed to write in that question the reporting obligation that the company, पहले तो आप बोल दोगे कि it is taxable in the hands of the shareholder. You will write that it is taxable in the hands of the shareholder, but then you will have to also write. What is that you are supposed to write? You are supposed to write that the company in this case are also under the obligation. Obligation of what? Obligation to report the transaction under Section 285A, read with Rule 114E. And if the company fails to report it, then students, if the company fails to report it, then what will happen on them? Then remember that the beautiful penalty, students, of 271FA, that will come into play. This is how the question will be there, students. Are you getting this point or not? Are you getting this point? This is exactly how the should be considered. Now comes the third one. Now, please understand. Now, you tell me one more thing. Is this company at the time of payment, are they liable to deduct TDS? Now, one more compliance. Please don't run away. Don't run away right now. Will they be required to deduct TDS? The company, I asked you the question, what is the tax implication? I asked you the question, the tax implication. Is the company required to deduct TDS under 194? Will the TDS under 194, will that be required to be deducted? And the answer is yes. All these are the framework of the question, students. These are the game that the ICI is going to play with all of you. And students are going to get roasted in this case if they take it casually. Are you getting this point, student? Similarly, if you see interest income, who is going to report? Banking company is supposed to report. So what bank is giving? The bank is giving the interest income. Students, so say for example, interest on the fixed deposit. Students, interest on the fixed deposit. So whether the bank is required to report this part, students, whether the bank is required to report it, yes, they are required to report it. Students, the bank will be required to report it, isn't it? What about TDS, students? Whether TDS is deductible on the fixed deposit interest? Whether the TDS is deductible on the FD interest income. The bank who is making the payment of the TDS or the interest on the FD, will they be required to deduct the TDS or not? If it exceeds 10,000 rupees. And the answer is yes, students. Which is the section? Under which section the bank will be required to deduct the TDS? Yes. Under which section the bank will be required to deduct the TDS? Under which section the bank will be required to deduct the TDS in this regard? You will say, sir, again you came back to the old thing, sections and all. 194A, students. 194A. Okay, so just keep those in mind, because then again the tax implication. What are the implications on the banking company? I can tell you and I can get a sense of it. Students, please pay attention. I can get a sense of it. A blast can happen on the November attempt. You say, what is the casualty? Casualty is 95% of the students. Only 5% would be sailing through in this thing. You say, but why is it so? What is the magnitude? Magnitude is this, that they will ask you a banking company full-fledged total income question. Full-fledged total income question will be asked, for which you require 3617A, or maybe tax liability also. Maybe a tax liability also, students. And maybe they can go for a cooperative bank. Students, cooperative bank. Let's talk about cooperative bank. If it is a cooperative bank, whether 115 BAD, remember, whether 115 BAD, will that be applicable for a cooperative bank? Also, we don't know anything right now. We are about to go and get the certificate of ATU. Say, because cooperative bank has also been mentioned over here. Cooperative bank, you will definitely say, students, 3617A is applicable. Isn't it? 3617 is applicable. 115 BAD also comes into play. And whether the cooperative bank paying the interest amount, will they be required to deduct the tax compliances and all? The tax compliance, will they be required to deduct the TDS? And the answer is yes. So a good question can be set for your examination, maybe in the form of an integrated case study, maybe in the form, because ICI is picking up this only. This is a trend in which they are building up their MCQs also. Or maybe total question number 1, total income. It can be, they can blast that question number 1 if they put across banking sector, total income and tax liability, along with some compliance measures. So my entire thought was to just make you mentally be prepared for these kind of an eventuality, so that you face it bravely, these kind of questions. One important amendment, students, do you remember that CBCR, this international taxation? It's only one amendment, small amendment, 2 minutes, students, we are done. So, students, if you remember the CBCR amendment, students, are you aware of this? CBCR 5500, that company, that parent company, the total consolidated, the group turnover in the last financial year should be exceeding 5,500 crores. 5,500 crores. Now, they felt that this 5,500 crores, many company comes into picture and becomes burdensome for them. So, they have increased the limit to 6,400 crores. So, therefore, this is an important one for MCQ now. This is important for the MCQ. Did you all got this one, students? Very important for the MCQ. Fine. And students, you can read this part here. In the CBCR, the reporting has to be done to, students, the reporting has to be done to this person. Designated here in the Joint Commission Director. The CBCR reporting will be done to Joint Director as may be designated by the Principal Director General of Income Tax. So CBCR reporting is to be done to whom? Joint Director. Who is designated by whom? By Principal Director General of Income Tax Systems. That's it. Did you all got this one, students? All of you through? Fine, students. So that is it. I will meet you at 9:30 p.m. Students, I'll meet you at 9:30 p.m. 9:30 p.m. we are going to catch up for the ABC for the next 3 months, how you are going to cover up your direct tax. You have your dinner, students, and I'll see you at 9:30 p.m. Link of which you can see, students, the link of the tonight lecture. Please go to my Telegram channel, Durgesh Singh. Go to my Telegram channel, Durgesh Singh, CA Durgesh Singh. You will find it over there, the link, okay? See you at 9:30 p.m. friends. Take care.